Hello. Check.
And be comfortable.
I'm gonna get comfortable. Thank you.
And then talk right into.
Hi. Check. Thank you. Natural. First time.
We're ready. Yes.
Welcome to the Sparkman Pathway to Careers.
Good afternoon to each of you in your respective places. I'm hoping that your beautiful faces are doing well on this amazing day. I am just full of joy for a number of different reasons. Soon you'll find out. But one I'll let out the bag, and that is my special guest who's here in the studio with us, Miss Laura Catherine Sawyer. And you have no idea what you are in for in regards to this, the context of this conversation. And we've already started off the air. So I'm just looking forward to diving deep into what it is that she can share with us about something that we do every day, but not really being intentional about what it is that we're doing. Getting dressed, that's what we're talking about. But first, want to stop and greet each of you. Thank you for giving us your ear and your time. One more occasion to be with you, to educate you and equip you for success in all of your areas of life, and that's professionally and personally. I just don't believe you can do one well. They both have to intersect and be in unison in order for you to have an actual fruitful, abundant living here on earth. I am your host, Nikki Roach, and I'm just always so excited to be with you. I see a number of you are chiming in. Welcome to each of you on Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and those of you live on the radio. Well, we have always talked about this idea and this concept of dress for success and be your best, and making sure that you not be distracting when you're in front of certain groups and muting some of your colors and your tones, but also dressing as if you're wanting to make sure you're attracting the right attention, but being mindful of what kind of attention that is. And I could go on and on and on. But did you really know how much your attire, yes, the actual clothes that you wear on a day-to-day basis, impacts not only what you're communicating to the world, but what you're communicating to yourself? And in some of my research that I've done about this whole idea and this psychology around getting dressed, I ran into a number of different things that made me stop and say, maybe I should pay a little bit more close attention. Those of you who know me and know me well understand fashion in my next lifetime. I think I want to be a designer. Just joking. I'm honestly just joking. But I love clothes. It's just like a blank canvas to communicate how you're feeling, how you're, the mood that you're experiencing, and all of that, so much more. But before I get deep in conversation, I wanted to just graze over a few different things, but I'm going to start by pitching a question to my guest, Laura Catherine
I'm ready.
Sawyer.
I'm in the hot seat.
I know, and I know you're ready to jump in, but I'm like,
Great.
let me tee
All
it up.
right. You're good at that. I appreciate it.
So Lady Sawyer, she is an actual personal stylist. She is an image and fashion consultant, not just here in St. Louis. Actually, most of her business, the majority, I would say, is out of New York. So she gets to fly back and forth. So I get the chance to see all this fly gear that she, can you see her right now?
You can't see my pants all the way.
Hot. That's all I'm going to say is hot. She also is the founder and creative body behind LKS Consulting and the Salon
by
LKS, which this is such a treat. What you're doing, and it's so next level. I just applaud you. And this is happening in St. Louis. You're bringing this amazing stuff in St. Louis. So you have lived in New York for a while.
I did, yes. So, well, thank you, first of all, for having me today.
You're welcome.
Like most connections that I make in this amazing city, it's just through other women, and that's how you and I came to connect with one another, and I'm so grateful for it, because every time I know, right? And so there's just these conversations are totally just sparked with all these really positive, wonderful things that correlate with not just clothing, because you look absolutely fabulous as always
I had to
today.
put my best foot, you coming.
But I am so not a judgmental person, and so I'm just it's fun to see and show up with people every day with a smile on their face, wearing something that makes them feel really good. And so I moved here, just to sort of give a bit more backstory. I moved here from New York City 5 years ago to be with my now husband, who is also from New York. We're both entrepreneurs. I can thank him for bringing me here to St. Louis.
Thank you.
And with that, though, I was an event designer for 9 years prior to launching my current consulting business, which has really transformed into a few different things that you touched on just a moment ago. And so one of those, obviously, is the fact that I'm a women's personal stylist. I work one-on-one directly with women, and that means I go into their wardrobes. We talk about every single piece of item that is in their wardrobe.
Wow.
We spend a few hours together. It gets very personal, it's very vulnerable and emotional, and very real very quickly. And so I love so much about that work for myself, because I'm able to connect with people on a really, really thoughtful and meaningful level. And what I saw out of that, coupled with the fact that I am a new entrepreneur in this wonderful city of St. Louis, full-time here, but have a wonderful business in New York as well. And I do collaborate with clients across the country, but St. Louis is home base. What I have found is there are really extraordinary people in this community that are so craving and hungry for connecting over, fashion, over entrepreneurship, over creativity, over really just being in a space where they feel welcome and they're able to connect on a really authentic, meaningful level. And so that's what these Salon by LKS event series do. And so I have one coming up on Friday evening. Yes. That's my plug for the day. And so that's a bit of backstory there on the work that I do. And then I do a bit of brand consulting as well. So I work with product design brands, and mostly the fashion brands. And so we talk through the product that they're prototyping and they're bringing to life. And we talk about realistically, will the consumer actually wear these products? And so working with women on my one-on-one business provides quite a bit of insight in terms of consulting with brands like that. And so it's just bringing all of that together from the consumer and the creator perspective.
And then you being that liaison in the middle.
Absolutely.
To connect those dots. That is awesome.
That's fun.
I have to ask you, what is your favorite color?
My favorite color? Oh, my favorite color is green. I'm not wearing it today. I'm in blue and black and white. But my favorite color is green. Absolutely. You're going to tell me something good here. I'm ready.
My audience knows I do research. So there are colors that we're all gravitating towards, and they all have meaning. So your favorite, you said, is green.
I do.
And it says that green is located in the middle of the color spectrum and is considered the hue of balance and restoration.
I was not ready for that one. I know other meanings of green, but I do like this meaning of balance. So
and
I
love
and
that.
Restoration, yes. I'm constantly thinking of ways I can restore myself in my go.
But you're also restoring
mindset.
others.
Absolutely. Which is why, and I said to you before we sat down today, this is so fun to be able to do this, because I'd say 99% of the time the attention is really focused on clients and working with them and just really giving them the tools and the resources and the permission and the energy and the space to restore themselves.
Wonderful. So just so that individuals who are listening understand that there are meanings of many colors, I'm going to go through a few of them. And then I want to step back and begin to unpack a little bit of what you're doing in this whole idea and concept behind the philosophy of getting dressed. So to the listeners, if yellow is your preferred color, we're talking about intellect, happiness, cheerfulness. This is what that means. Orange is the color associated with warmth, ambition, enthusiasm, and energy. I see some thumbs up on the other side. Blue is often considered and identified as a color of intelligence, loyalty, peace, and confidence. Purple is the color of imagination and spirituality. It indicates creativity, a love of the arts, sophistication, and even a sense of richness. Brown is down-to-earth color, which signifies security, stability, and reliability. Gray is often an unemotional color, with it being neither black or white, so it is often seen as calm, composed, or a reserved shade. White is often categorized as a color for purity, innocence, and a fresh start. Red is a symbol of energy, strength, power, and passion.
It's a good one too.
And then black, which is I think a default for all of us at times, the most mysterious and protective color of them all. While this color can seem unapproachable at first, the dark hue is also exuding elegance, luxury, and power.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are drawn to these different colors, because we may, like for me, I just love color, but my favorite color is ivory. I did not dig that deep to find the meaning, but I will after the show.
We'll talk about that offline. Good.
But we're attracted to these colors, and while I did read some information, and a lot of times we think that's what we're giving off. But this whole concept of the psychology of getting dressed is also what's being communicated back to us.
Correct. I'd love to, if it's okay, just tap into the last color that you had mentioned before we dig a bit deeper into turning, the psychology of dress inward, which has a lot to do with my philosophy and what I'm digging into more on a professional level and for myself personally. Mm-hmm. The color black is the things that you just described that they are. And it also, I think, can almost sort of be a color that we can use by default. Like you said, a lot of us wear black, and there's nothing wrong with that. And, when I was living in New York, I wore black almost all the time, all black. I was working in events, and so it just made sense given that line of work in that industry. Mm-hmm. And when I moved here, I didn't even necessarily realize it in the beginning, but that it really was becoming a part of my uniform, if you will. And so then it was becoming default mode. You're right.
Yes.
I know. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. It is what it is. Yeah. And so, I was still, when I had first moved here, was working in events for a little while, and there were colleagues of mine who would say to me, "Oh, Laura, here comes Laura. She's in her home team colors again, all black." Oh, God. And, I had a really powerful experience with a friend of mine a few years ago who is a fashion designer who was located here in St. Louis and has since moved back to New York. And a lot of his garments are really colorful. They're print heavy, really dynamic pieces. And there was a part of me that saw something, and I said, okay, I'm really drawn to this. Let me explore this a bit more, and let me walk down this road and give myself the space to do that. And so, I happened to connect with him just because I love to meet new people. And I tried on some pieces, and what came out of that conversation too was not only this like greater love and appreciation for color, but also greater love and appreciation for parts of my body as well.
Interesting.
And so
because we get to hide behind the black.
Absolutely. And it's a no-brainer. Now I will say I love color, and I've fully embraced color beyond. There are colors I've also learned that I should not be wearing, yellow being one of them. I'm sure you can figure out why. My hair color may also have something to do with that fact. And it is what it is, and that's okay. And so, I do though still go to black often, because when I am with clients in their closets, the idea is for me to be there as, a steward to them in these moments together where we're working through all of these pieces and all of these emotions about making choices for what the outcome of this whole experience together is going to be. And so, there's one component of it where it's blending in, or I should say sort of going invisible in a way in terms of, what is on my body, but then also being mindful of how, people respond to colors as well. And so, if I walk into someone's closet and I'm in a bright red blouse, that could engage a different kind of conversation to be had.
And it actually shifts the energy.
Absolutely.
Because even for myself and a number of others that I chat with on a regular basis who are public speakers or they facilitate workshops, that's one thing that we have conversations about more than people may think, because while you're in front of a group of people, you want to make sure, as you were saying, it's almost like you go invisible, but not a distraction, I would say.
Correct.
When it comes to speaking, to where individuals are hearing, your audience are hearing the message and not looking to see like, oh, where do those dots end? Where do they start?
Exactly.
Because we zone in on that.
Exactly. And that's a different kind of setting, right? So here I am describing moments where I'm in someone's closet. And so I'm in their domain.
And that's an intimate space.
Very intimate. I'm in their domain. And so, I'm there aesthetically from, an eye perspective and also from an experience perspective as well. And so what I'm wearing needs to be representative of the fact that I'm here to help you. This isn't about me, this is about you. Whereas what you're also now describing when you're talking with colleagues and friends and that are in public settings, if you will, and speaking, whether it's a keynote or a panel discussion or a television appearance, those are also really different types of situations where, solids and brighter colors, that is a really real thing. Yeah. TV and camera picks up the saturation of color. Being on stage, the audience is there to focus on you, the experts, and they want to hear what you have to say. We just happen to have bodies that need to have clothing to be worn. And so how do we wear something that makes a statement, but also then doesn't distract from, what the context of the experience is together?
Yeah. Now, you mentioned earlier that while you're in these intimate settings, and we're taking it back to the closet, you're in the closet and you're going through every item within someone's closet.
Yes.
Share a little bit about that experience and to kind of help us understand what was happening in that time, at that moment. And then we'll get into how do we walk through our closets to just kind of identify where we are. Because I think there's a story that could be had if you just walk through someone's closet.
Absolutely. And that's a great point that you make. Often we, I think, have been, you go online and you take a style quiz or, you look at categories of styles and you think, oh, I'm a preppy style, or I'm like a minimalist style, or, I'm all about maximalism and prints and color. But really, those things exist, sure, because we as human beings would love to have some sort of structure and decision-making assistance to make it a bit easier, but it also provides us with reducing fear and stepping outside of our comfort zones, right? And
in clothing.
I know. And so we want to feel, right? Of course, all the time we want to feel safe, we want to feel secure in the choices that we're making. And so sometimes there are fashion faux pas, if you will. Yeah. And, that can be embarrassing for some people. Ultimately, it's not the end of the world. In fact, those, I would say, are really great learning experiences. I've had many myself. I'm sure I will continue to have many more because I'm in a position now where I like to say I'm like a fashion chameleon. I show up in all sorts of different things every single day, and I'm constantly exploring what that is, And but like, that's just a part of my personality, right? And so I'm okay and I'm comfortable. That's not so common across the board. And so that then takes us back to clients' closets. And I walk in, and that's the expectation that is set. And, it's the first thing that I say to clients is, here we are, we're going to go through every single piece of clothing, shoes, accessories, jewelry. Now from there, some clients say, I'm happy with my workout gear. I don't need you to go through all of my leggings. And, and I say, okay, are you sure? I'm happy to. We can do that. Absolutely. We can go through everything. And they're like, no, I'm good. These are the areas that I really want to focus on. Okay. This is where I want improvement to be made. And so often that then is, blouses, slacks, dresses. This is specifically for women. And so here we go. We start pulling out every single item and we talk about it. And so a conversation begins with, when did you wear this last? Where did you wear it? How did you wear it? How did you style it? Why did you wear it?
So they literally kind of go through the process with,
yes,
and match it up.
And then they'll say, well, I wore this blouse with those slacks and I wore it to a dinner party a month ago. Or I have this dress and I haven't worn this dress in 10 years, but I love this dress and it provides some sort of emotional, nostalgic kind of meaning to me.
Interesting.
Exactly. And so, you know, we talk about the pieces, and so let me back up because we'll get into nostalgia pieces as well. But we talk about the way in which garments are worn, and then realistically, what's your lifestyle? So onboarding a new client includes a 17-page questionnaire that I have them fill out. And this is everything
17.
from, I know. And I usually, and now I'm spoiling for perhaps anybody who's listening who has any interest in working with me.
No.
But
I bet they get more out of it than
that
you do.
is the key. This is such a spoiler,
I
and
gotcha.
I'm so happy to share it. But in the moment, really what I'm doing is, because you can't necessarily draw, it's like anybody taking a survey, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to consider, like, you know, when it's being sent out, how that person is feeling that day, if they're having a rough day, a bad day, a great day, whatever the environmental and psychological impacts are, like, that's going to impact the way in which somebody answers something. I recognize that. What I'm getting out of this is, one, there's all really critical information that's being pulled from it, but I'm also fluid enough to understand that that's going to change a bit once we get into your wardrobe as well. And so with that, though, it's putting you, the client, in a mindset of, let me just pause in my very busy life, because we all have incredibly busy, consuming lives, and we've got a whole lot of distractions these days. So how can I pause for a little while and actually sit back and start to really wonder and question myself about these areas? And so it's like, give me your shoe size, but then what are your personal and professional goals a year from now? What are they 5 years from now? How do you, what part of your personality do you want to convey in how you show up every day?
And that is, talk about the psychology of getting dressed, because we think, like, just give me, I just need a skirt, as women, give me a dark skirt, a black, a little top, or now we're wearing t-shirts with blazers, which makes it even easier. I know. And we're in this space to where the more it doesn't match, the more trendy it is, where, like, you have all this going on, but it still boils down to not just being, I think this is my fascination with this topic. We're communicating more than we think we are, regardless what we pick.
Correct. So first of all, what you just described overwhelmed me, even just in this moment, when you're like, oh, we could wear this and that, and it's so true. Yeah. And so think of, like, I'm somebody that thinks about this on a daily basis and how it applies to so many different types of women's lives. And so that's really the biggest challenge is, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm frozen in this moment right now because I don't even know what to do or what's right for my body. And so that's one of the biggest areas that we tackle together is, let's slow down and let's acknowledge the fact that, we all are unique and dynamic, and, trends are wonderful things. They're fun, they're playful, they're immediate, but are they everlasting? And so it's really establishing a conversation too around the fact that, trends are great and you can have fun and play with them all day long and go for it and try it out and experiment. But really, how can you find a sense of peace, in waking up every single day? Because clothing is a part of our lives every day, and it's so easy for us to forget that.
Yeah.
Please. No. And so, I'm not a psychologist, right? I am a fashion and image consultant who happens to be very interested in the psychology of fashion, if you will, for lack of a better placement of words, because it's really not a technical field. It's something that is beginning to emerge now in both of those spaces. And there are really smart people that are bridging those two areas together now. Yeah. And it's fascinating because as we think about it more and more, it's applicable to all of us.
Regardless of where you fall, racially, socially, economically, politically, faith-based, everybody has to do this every day.
Yes.
And some of us multiple times throughout the day.
Exactly.
And it's just amazing because you were talking about when you have individuals and you're in their closet and they're pulling it out, and like you said, you can almost tell the life, or you can get a nugget of the story of that person, whether it's personality, the phase of life that they may be in, or have they even slowed down to kind of purge. And so I think there's a lot of, like, if we went back and stood in front of our closet, or if we took you and we just randomly popped in people's houses, you could probably share like what's going on, not just dead on, but again, being able to unfold and uncover, like, you've got a lot going on, or when have you really pressed pause because it wouldn't look like this? Like, you know how we just throw stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying organized, you know, color coded and everything's like, I worked retail, so I know how to pull the sleeves and do lines. And I worked at Gap forever.
Oh, yes.
So I know how to fold the jeans and the white shirts. And
all in a perfect line.
yes, and then they lean. You know?
Exactly. A little shift.
But that is just, yeah, I'm just absolutely, because I'm stopping to think, yes, about my own closet. And what would you say about me if you came and stood in my space?
Well, I need to see it before I can go make assumptions.
No,
so let me
know
know when I'm coming over. I spend a lot of time in other people's really private spaces. And what comes out of that are these very honest conversations.
And that's where, and thank you, because I was going right to that, because that there's a level of trust that has to be established. And so what is it that you're finding that is some of the trends or some of the conversations being in that space?
Sure. So often the reason behind why somebody would pick up the phone and call me, you know, is generally, and this isn't every single time, but often transition in life has a lot to do with it. Whether, you know, somebody's transitioning from job to job, they're transitioning in a move, they're transitioning in or out of a relationship, or they've gotten to a place where they're making personal changes just because they're really starting to be a bit more introspective perhaps, or wondering, you know, this is how something was 5 years ago, but maybe this isn't who I am today.
And that happens.
It does. It happens all the time. And I think that, you know, I mean, I know that I celebrate it. I am a change agent. I love change. I think it's wonderful. Change to a lot of people is terrifying. Yeah. And so how can I be a non-judgmental steward, if you will, in helping them through this medium, which is something that happens to be a bigger deal than perhaps we give credit to, because it's something that's a part of our lives every single day.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is, you know, once I'm in the closet with clients, then is, you know, oftentimes clients have a really great eye. They pick out really beautiful pieces. They're very fashionable. They're fun. They feel like themselves. The number one across the board, and this is with everyone that I've had the pleasure of working with directly currently to date, is how do I wear this blouse 10 different ways with other pieces in my closet? Okay. How do I style? How do I define my style, and then how do I execute on it in my closet every single day? And so what's come out of that, and there's a really good takeaway here for everybody, because everybody is capable of doing this. So the first thing is, one, start asking yourself these questions. Why is this still in my wardrobe? Where do I wear this? Do I realistically, you know, if I say to somebody, you know, will you wear this to the grocery store? I have a woman who I work with who said, I'm supposed to have a grocery store sweater? And I'm like, no, actually, great. So like, let's build out these scenarios of your realistic scenarios of what your life is.
What's happening.
Yeah, and so what am I doing? And so, you know, and then accepting the fact
she wouldn't
that,
change.
Oh my gosh, I have a whole new color on now. You've inspired me. Right. I've inspired you. This is beautiful.
So we have Lady Galloway, and she's operating the board, and she went and changed into something very bright and festive.
We're going to talk about this when I get
gorgeous.
To be not a wall away from here, and I can actually have a conversation with you. Are you plugging in? Come on.
Oh my gosh. She went and changed. But look what it made us do. It made us smile because of the color.
Because it should. I mean, we're putting these articles of clothing on our body. I mean, it should be fun. It should make us feel good at the end of the day. And oftentimes it doesn't. Are you ready to tell me about your blouse?
Okay. 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 Since we're talking about clothing.
What a great thing to share too, because that also then that says something. That's a reminder. Okay, so that's a huge part of the process in working with clients as well, is how can I help you quickly and effectively remind you that you have these choices and these options. So we'll style looks together, and now we're all on our phones. We spend a few hours in the closet together. I do a flat lay of looks where they try them on, and head to toe. We're talking like, scarves, jewelry, blouse, pants, skirt, dress, jacket, shoes, whatever it is that works for you. And I do have clients try them on, because I can sit here all day and say, this would look great together and it would look great on you, but you need to feel it.
Yeah.
You need to feel this.
Because there is a truth behind allowing an outfit to wear you.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
you not wear it. That is real.
So hold on to that nugget, because we're going to get to that more in the psychology address. And so when we're in clients' closets, then they're trying on, they're deciding, but then they're waking up in the morning, and now they can go onto their phone and they've got these looks together. So now all of a sudden I've reduced, ideally I do stressors in the morning. Okay. So there was a study that was done a few years ago by Marks and Spencer that resulted in the fact that on average, women spend 17 minutes in their wardrobes every single day contemplating what to wear. That's a lot of time.
17 is, and that's short, kind of.
So average, right? Because I said that number recently to someone else, and they were like, "That's an awful long time." And I thought,
just to be staring and
exactly
trying to figure it out.
And over 60% of that time, we are processing and feeling and thinking and self-speaking in really negative manners to ourselves as well. So what a way to set the tone for our day ahead of us.
So we're stressed. We're kind of stressed because we're standing, and then now we're also wasting a little time.
Frustrated,
and then we have negative talk, self-talk, because we're like,
I don't love this part of my body, or this blouse isn't fitting me correctly today. I'm feeling, these are my own thoughts that we all have them.
Yes.
I'm feeling bloated this morning.
Yes.
Like, I really probably should not put those pants on, but I really want to wear those pants because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So here's an example of that, that I like to offer to everybody. So one is, first of all, question what's in your wardrobe and why, and start to experiment and place outfits together and lay them out and take photographs of them. We have our phones. Our phones are in bed with some of us sometimes.
Yeah.
They're there all the time. Open it up and scroll. Who wouldn't want to love to look at a photo of something that they put together, or of themselves or clothing that they feel great in, and say, oh, that was a great outfit. Let me file this in a private folder on my phone of outfits.
Yeah.
Right? And so we all are capable of doing that. So I would offer up everybody to go out and just give that a try and see how that goes for you.
Yeah. And then you move them past, you get them to begin to work their closet.
Yeah, and so I've empowered them in this moment now. Mm-hmm. And so, look, I'm happy to always help people no matter what, but, a great goal of mine is to get a client in a place where they say, I'm making those decisions on my own now. I'm curious, I love this blouse, and I'm so excited about being able to wear it this way and that way, and I can, now integrate it, because our lives, I think, are becoming a lot more sort of blended and fluid in terms of our professional worlds and our personal worlds.
Totally. And that's why I say you can't be successful in one without the other.
Precisely.
It is a true intersection.
And you don't have to sort of dictate, a long time ago, or not actually that long ago, a wardrobe would be, this is my workwear, this is my weekend wear.
Yes.
And I would offer, you start to really think about, how is that making you feel? Are you actually utilizing the clothing that's in your closet that you're spending money on and time thinking about what to wear? Why wouldn't you wear it for all parts of your lives? And really think about how, you can approach it in different ways and experiment with it, because, people will ask me, what are trends? What's cool? What's interesting? And, what I like to say is, like, what do you like?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you said that, because oftentimes we do. Now we have Pinterest, and you can Google, you've got YouTube with all these fashion experts giving you all this different advice, but that's still, even though that's from their perspective, I've learned that although something may be popular 10 years ago, doesn't mean that I have to do away with it. if it's something that I'm still feeling.
As long as the condition, that's the biggest thing I say with clients too, is the condition of the garment. Are there any holes in it? Is there any pilling? Are there any tears? If there are, can they be fixed? Can they be corrected? There's a lot of really great tools out there and a lot of great tailors that can really take a piece of clothing. We just had this conversation before we sat down today.
Yes, Pastor McClendon came in with his shirt that he had custom made abroad.
Yes.
And he mentioned.
And he said that he had holes in the cuffs and it had worn a bit. And he took it to
the French cuffs.
The French cuffs removed entirely, and then the collar cut down so that it was just a straight collar, open, not an open neck collar. And so all of a sudden this shirt that is beautifully made, that he has memories and moments in that he loves and appreciates and spent, money on, for him, he now has a whole second life with this article of clothing. And I mean, that's a whole other conversation to be had in terms of how we're restoring, recycling, rewearing, reusing, and we can talk about that for 15 hours another time.
but even for the ladies who are listening, that was something for the men, but something for the ladies. One thing that I do often is if I am over a dress, especially dresses, what I will do is get them chopped in half.
Oh, I love that you're sharing this. I was just thinking of someone who did this recently. But
I do it all the time. So a lot of my blouses were once dresses, and then sometimes that same material may be combined. The bottom part may be combined for something else, and also some pants and especially skirts that have traveled with me for some years. Meaning now I put on a little weight,
sure,
a little more weight than I did that I had. What I will do is take it apart at the seams, the two sides, or if it's just one in the back, I will have the seamstress, and I have two people that I work with specifically. Excellent. And I will pick out a piece of material that complements or maybe give it a tuxedo type of stripe on the side. I just did that to a skirt. And I just took apart a leather skirt that, and the quality is so good, I didn't want to get rid of it. So I actually went and had a piece of material and had it added. So they opened it. So now, oh my gosh.
That's so smart.
So it's like, understanding, there are, we don't always have to run out to the store, but there are things that we can actually restore.
Absolutely. I love that. And often there's a lot of great materials out there that are elastic as well. Just the material you added was elastic or not.
Yes, and the leather skirt it was.
And that's very comfortable too. I think that's a really brilliant approach to repurposing clothing. And you just said something about, this idea of running out to the store. I've been guilty of it in the past. And I would say, I owe that as one of the reasons as to probably why, whether I realized it or not at the time, as to why I decided to go down this path of the work that I do today, is that's just not a good feeling. You're doing something in haste, you're doing something not fully thinking about buying, and so there's dollars that are going towards an item, but then, how are you actually then considering ways in which you're wearing that garment with your collective wardrobe? And so it's so easy for us to, get an email from a retailer, and say, this is the trend, or these are the items you need to buy right now. And of course I get so excited, I see them too, and it's fun.
Yeah, and then it's always like the color of the season. So what do we do immediately? Do I have some of that color in my closet? If not, I need an item.
Exactly. And so, but then, I would ask, why do we feel that we need that item? Because we've been marketed this item to buy. But really then consciously, we all are, of course I am too, but I'm offering up this possibility of being conscious of the fact that we're making, smart buying decisions and smart wearing decisions. And we have the ability to own what those are once we begin to ask a few more questions about who we are and what our style is every day. And then all of a sudden, like the ultimate end result with that, of course, and it's just a constant work in progress, but the ultimate end result with that is then all of a sudden we have time to focus on other parts of our lives.
Yeah, and alleviating that portion of stress. Because although we're talking about getting dressed, you're right. We wake up in the morning, we're rushing, we're trying to figure it out. And I know some people are able to, put all the clothes out at night, match some things up, maybe go scroll through the pictures. But for me, and there may be others like me, I dress according to my mood every morning. So I can't.
Great. You know that. You figured that out for yourself.
Yeah, I've tried the whole do the thing at night, and it does help with time, but I don't feel as in control. Which is so weird.
Awesome. I mean, everybody has their unique way of doing it. You know, like I said in the beginning of our conversation, it's really just me being able to act as that steward to help you figure out and uncover what those things are. And so, you know, the old, and I firmly believe that the concept of 30% of our wardrobes are what we really wear. It's 2019. Come on, you know, we can do better than that.
So
right?
So is the truth behind that?
I think that that's probably an old statistic. I'm sure it's changing.
Okay.
I think, you know, from somebody who participates and has conversations with people that are in the industry of fashion, beyond the consumer experience, a lot of things are really shifting and changing in the fashion industry as well. And so the result of that then is consumers being really, really overwhelmed. And I think that's why this is such a critical juncture right now, is to have these kinds of conversations where there are so many options out there. And what do I do?
And we're not going to brick and mortar anymore. So it is a matter of
and it's so easy to buy online.
And return.
Yes.
Because a lot of people were hesitant, I think, when that option became more in our face. But now they make it so easy to where it is not so much a struggle if the size is off. And then it's not even just local or domestic, it's international.
Well, and so our goal, obviously, in facilitating a better life for this planet is we all want things to be easier and simpler and feel better and be smoother, right? And so, you know, there's nothing wrong necessarily with this sort of like on-demand access of things. That's a deeper rooted question and answer. But, you know, on the surface, as I think about it, like, of course we want convenience. Yeah. But then, you know, I would say, why wouldn't we have convenience with the choices that we make for ourselves every day when we get dressed? And so all of a sudden now there's 70% of our wardrobe that they're not wearing. And so what that's doing is creating physical real estate. It's taking up physical real estate in our closets, and it's doing the same for us mentally and emotionally. And so we have this weight that is in front of us. And so all of a sudden, you know, I walk into a wardrobe and I know there's a top in there that I really like and I know would look great, you know, paired this way for this day for this reason, but I just can't break through all this noise and these hurdles of what's in front of me because of all this stuff, you know, that's in the way. And so, you know, there's people that I've worked with in the past have said, you took everything out of my wardrobe, what am I to do? And I've said, you know, were you wearing those pieces? And they said, no. I said, well, you know, think about that. You just feel so different right now because you have all this space available to you physically and mentally. And what a gift, and I, you know, and so that
but you know, we find joy even in dysfunction. You know that.
Oh well, we hardwired ourselves to that for sure. We've habitually put ourselves in that place, whether we realized it consciously or not. Yeah. And so that's I think probably a good pivot into what we've talked a bit about previously, and that is truly what is the psychology of fashion. Mm-hmm. And so a study was done a few years ago that has resulted then in this phenomenon that's been coined enclothed cognition.
Yes.
And so what that is saying, it's pretty obvious. I'm sure a lot of people listening will say, well, of course, you know, I don't know why it took them, you know, time in 2012 to come up with this. Mm-hmm. But what it has proven ultimately, and I'll get to the specifics of the study, but is, you know, it's rooted in my philosophy and how I walk into the work that I do every day and working with, you know, the women and the brands that I work with. And that's that, you know, we've been told dress to impress, you know, dress for the job you want. You know, it's all about outward perception and how people are viewing you. But really, you know, why is it only that? Why wouldn't it actually be more about how is this article of clothing making me feel, making me think, impacting me? And we've obviously just talked about that. Yeah. Ultimately, this whole time, I'm just putting a name on it now that I happen to be fascinated by. And so what was done in this study was the first part, half of the participants were put in physician's jackets, like a white coat. Yeah. And the other half were in regular clothing. And what resulted, as you know, they were then given tasks to do, what resulted in that part of the study was the people that were in doctor's coats ended up being more productive and more focused in the tasks that they were given, as opposed to the individuals that were in just everyday clothing. Now, they took that and they said, okay, we need to go further. And from there, they then put a new participant pool. Again, half were in doctor's coats. They were told they were in doctor's coats. The other half were put in the exact same coat, and they were told that they were painter's smocks. And so the results then came out that then pointed to, again, the people that were in the doctor's coats that knew they were in the doctor's coats were then performing again, at higher, more effective, efficient levels as opposed to the individuals in these painter coats. And now we can talk about creativity as a whole other thing, and I respect that too. This is just sort of like a baseline understanding of the fact that like those are really real things, and we should begin to ask the question, what is it that we're putting on our bodies, and how does it make me feel? And so, think about it this way. You're waking up in the morning and you have a really big team pitch later in the day. You've been working on a project for months, and this is your moment, and you're going to be in front of a room, of your team of 15 people, and you didn't get a great night's sleep. You're really anxious. You're excited. You want to deliver and perform well. You've got it all, like it's through and through. But then you walk into your closet and all of a sudden, you're like, what am I to wear? And you put a pair of pants on and they're your favorite pants, but maybe they're a little tight. You work through the day, you're getting ready to walk into your meeting, and all of a sudden, your mind goes to, my pants are super tight right now. And I really need to ace this presentation. But all I can think about is the fact that I'm uncomfortable. And that is a really real thing.
I was going to say, that's real. Yeah. No different than, I've had experiences where the blouse may flap, and it becomes irritating, and it shifts the whole mood because it's like, darn it, and then you begin to feel uncomfortable, but then you feel exposed.
Yes, and then that begins to dictate consciously and subconsciously your behavior in terms of how you're engaging, whether you're in the present, whether so many things. We can go down the list.
It's very real.
And so, so much of all the work that I, again, have the pleasure to be able to do is really just exploring what that's like for everybody. And it's such an individual thing. Yeah. And just engaging conversation around those sort of thoughts and choices. Mm-hmm. Because how freeing would it be to be able to walk into a wardrobe and actually, have garments in there that you're truly wearing everything. And it fits your body well, you feel like yourself. And then, like I said, you then get to go on with, what is ahead of you that day and really just focus on that and reducing that stress.
Yeah.
We're too stressed out.
Yeah. And why not eliminate those areas that we can?
And we have the choice.
It sounds trivial, but it is what sets the tone of our day.
Perhaps it sounds trivial because we, for a long time, have been told that maybe fashion is trivial, right? Mm-hmm. Some people, I'm not saying it is at all because it's a very serious thing. Or who cares what you're wearing? Just go do you, be you, go do it. But clothing is a part of our everyday experience.
Yeah. No different than, just think about when was the last time you had to get dressed up to go somewhere? The level of anticipation and expectation, and when you walked in the room, everybody, I know, it was like you knew. Like, if you could wake up that way every day, not so much that you're dressing in ball gowns or anything, but just understanding that level of confidence is what I'm
and defining what that $1 million to me could feel different than $1 million to you. That sensation is so individual. Correct. And so just exploring and really discovering what that is for you and letting yourself experience it.
And it's fine. It's fine. So we're going to close out and use the latter part of our conversation on like some tips and maybe some input that you can have for us in our closet. I'll start with one thing that I do that helps me to try to wear more than that 30%. So at the beginning of the year, or this year, I did it in June, and I hang all my clothes the same way. As I wear them, so, you wear them, you wash to get them clean or wash them, and you hang them back up. I hang it the opposite way.
Correct.
And so once I give myself to the end of the year, so I did it in June, in December, I'll see what I have not turned, and I'll either give it away or I'll say, let me try another, because I used to do a year, but now I've been doing 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because
seasonality is a part of that as well.
But right? I'm wearing it doesn't matter if it was something for summer, I'm just throwing a cardigan over it. So I'm no longer on the season thing.
Look at that. Comprehensive wardrobe across the board.
Totally got rid of that. And even my white, I will wear it year round.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a no-brainer these days. I give everyone permission to wear white all year round.
And what's crazy, pastels.
Yes.
Spring pastels are huge coming up this fall. Yes, I love fashion. So the hanger thing really helps me. And then I either give it away, or I have a couple of specific locations that I will donate to. But it really, really helps. But I do find that every now and then something has been turned several times because I just can't let it go.
Well,
that nostalgia.
Turned because you've worn it, or turned because you haven't worn it?
I haven't.
And you're holding on to something else. So
on.
Now you're paying attention to that. So you're creating really simple visual cues that are communicating something, right? Because you're recognizing that. So that's a really great approach, and that's really doable, and anybody can do that with clothes on a hanger. And so, do I need to? Is it good? Can we keep? Are we good?
Yes,
I'm
good.
And so the other thing I would say then too is think about, you're putting things in a place where that's an organizational approach. There are other ways in which you can approach your closet organizationally, and so shifting things around in certain spaces is another way. And so that's a mental thing as well. And so when we move items maybe to a different kind of rack, or we reorder them in a fresh new perspective, like as opposed to a color lineup, maybe instead we're doing, these are tops that are silk, and these are tops of a different material that are cotton, whatever it is. And so what you're then doing is you're engaging, you're almost forcing your brain into reapproaching something with an entirely new perspective. And so when you're, it's like when you move a piece of furniture around in your home, it looks totally different to you, right? And so you can do that with your clothing, and all of a sudden you're processing things a bit differently. And so you're thinking about them a bit differently, and perhaps maybe you're pulling out some new looks together.
Correct.
Because of that. And the other thing I would say too is really just mindfulness is such a very relevant topic today in our culture because we're so overstimulated and overburdened with a lot of things. But, reducing a lot of that noise, things that you're not wearing, removing them. But then when you're in your closet, just being mindful of the conversation that you're having with yourself when you're getting dressed every day, because it is not trivial. I mean, it is truly setting the tone. And we have the power to shift that perspective, truly. What it takes, though, is often reminders.
Now, real quick, we have like maybe 3 minutes left. Top 3 things that we should have in our closet.
Okay, it's the same thing for men and women that I believe.
Perfect.
One is proper fitting underpinnings across the board. Okay, and that's like bras and underwear. Truly, it's the first thing that goes on our body before anything else. We put on our underpinnings first. It's the thing that's touching our skin the most. So it should fit you correctly. It should not be tattered and torn if possible. Really, you want to treat yourself well, and by putting on, properly fitting. And I'm not saying you need to have whatever it is.
The brand,
it can be whatever you want it to be, as long as it's comfortable and it fits you well. Then what you put on over it, will drape properly. And it's also a form in which you're speaking to yourself in a really positive way, by taking action and actually putting on something that fits you well. And you feel really good. And you're comfortable, which no matter what, you can aim to look chic all day long and fashionable. Everybody wants to be comfortable.
Yeah, that is true.
So underpinnings. Jeans are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. Find the right pair of jeans. I would say don't buy a pair. If you want one pair of jeans, I would lean on like a darker wash, not ripped and torn, something that can be worn casually, and you can also dress it up as well. I personally love denim, and so again, men and women can really, with a proper fitting pair of, elevated looking jeans, can go a long way.
One last thing.
Yes.
Did you have one last thing?
Oh, I have one last thing. Yes, sir. Outerwear.
Okay.
Just a good coat or jacket, again, that fits you properly. It looks good, it looks polished, it looks modern, and you can throw a coat on with a t-shirt and a pair of jeans and a pair of heels, and explore outside of your traditional, perhaps black or camel coat. Wear something maybe that's your way of expressing yourself, and that's great too, but a coat can be a really strong statement.
Awesome. This has been so fascinating of a conversation. I've got work to do. I'm sure those listening I've been kind of intrigued as well to understand when they get home, there's time to do a little more digging and cleaning and sorting.
It's self-time.
Right,
Who doesn't love that?
right. Where can we find more information about you?
Sure. So my website is Laura K. Sawyer, and it's Laura, the letter K, and my last name is spelled SAWYIER.com. And that has all of my styling services and my consulting services. I do also have a what to wear blog, which provides primarily tips on how to wear certain types of pieces, again, because that's most people's biggest challenge. And then for my women's speaker series, which is Salon by LKS, and the website is Salon, SALON, the letter X, and then the letters LKS.com. And those are community events for St. Louis, which I'm happy to host.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Miss Laura, for coming
Thank
and spending
you for
time with us.
having me.
Those of you
Delight.
listening, thank you so much. I'm hoping that you've gotten some information to get you through the next shopping spree, I will say, which can happen right in your closet.
Or slow. I like that
Right
too.
in your
And
closet.
slow too.
Right.
If it needs to be.
I'm your host, Nikki Roach. It's always a joy. Until next time, go and be great, do great. Remember that you already have everything you need to be successful. Just tap into it. Be well. There we go. We're off. Yeah, we're still live here, so be mindful. That was great.
Oh my gosh, that was
And
awesome.
it goes
Was that
fast,
good?
right? It was an
Did
hour.
I deliver where you needed me to?
Fabulous.
It's funny.
I told you.
I know. It's good. It gets you in the mindset. That was so
yes.
fun.
So there are still a few people out here. Good afternoon. Hello, Angie Sims. How are you? And thank you so much for the information. Aqua Adams, I love all colors, but navy and purple are my go-to. Beautiful colors.
Strong.
Yes. Toya Shanae says, I am so aware of this. Let's see. And then Aqua, I couldn't hear. Okay. I think they finally got it.
Oh, good. I know.
But yeah, so this is so great. So thank you so much for spending time with us.
It's my pleasure.
To share a little bit. She gave her information on where you can find her and learn more about her upcoming events, but also to get some tips and tricks, for yourself. And please share so that other people can get in on this great information as well.
We're all deserving.
Yes, all deserving. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Bye.